Okay, welcome to the Euro healing session. And these days, each session, whether workshop or healing, we start with the meditation that Jill channels, called Healing for the Planet and Its People. So if you like to relax and close your eye, I'll mute you all. We imagine a beautiful golden white light descending upon us from the heavens. It feels soft, warm, and gentle as we breathe it in. It fills our whole body with its beautiful essence, and we are filled with the love of Source. We know we are connected, and we are powerful, creative beings. We see that the light has now joined us together as a group. So there are no individuals, just one heavenly light. We are the group. We are one. We see planet Earth in front of us. She is beautiful, yet strong and resilient. We feel immense love for her. We are aware of a heartbeat strong and deep within. We feel connected to the beat, and it seems to call to us. It is as though our own hearts have joined with hers, and we are in a peaceful harmony with the planet. She is waiting for us. As one, we extend the light out from the group heart center and surround the dear planet in the beautiful, loving light. She draws close as the light pulsates strongly from the group consciousness, gently offering healing to her and all beings. You now see the planet and the group vibrating with the light, which has been called forth through the group intention, capacity to love, gentleness, and knowing. The light becomes so bright now that it's difficult to discern the planet from the exquisite light. The light grows bigger and bigger until all that can be seen in the mind's eye is light. There is nothing else. We hold this light and feel its peace. We feel the love and the healing that we too are receiving. A feeling from which it is difficult to depart. It is a minuscule taste of the love that has always been, a love that has never left, a love that waits patiently for our return. We feel immense gratitude now. The love we give is being returned in ways we cannot imagine, in amounts we can never understand. We cannot know who will accept what is offered today, but it can never be lost. It stands forevermore as a beacon for all those who seek solace, and it will shine as a beacon until all are home. We continue to watch a little while, knowing this cannot fail, for we are powerful creators. We are one with Source. We are the light. And so the healing is complete. Gently let yourself return to the room. There's some short sharings from that, like a sentence or two. By all means, go ahead, and then we'll move on to our own healing.
Oh, it just gets better every time.
It's nice to hear.
It's like, yeah, Jesus was there before you even started. Like, when you went quiet, it's like, oh, am I actually going to hear something, or is it just going to do my own thing? But yeah, it's just so beautiful, and all joining, and his hands were with ours, and then it was like the hands of everybody on earth were joining in with it, and then lights going on in every heart around the world, and then it was all just pulsing out. So when you said it was like beacon, it's like this beacon in the middle of the earth, just sending waves of love out all the time. You know, that beacon home. So yeah, it's beautiful.
Wow, Judith, that's beautiful. I'm glad I asked. I will now each time. Anyone else want to comment? No? Okay. So we're going to do an exercise now, which will include a little forgiveness, but it has a broader perspective. It's another sort of approach. We've used part of it before. Okay, so once again, if you like to be comfortable and relax, close your eyes. Just take a moment to listen to the sounds around you. It might just be my voice, or you might be hearing birds, traffic. And try and listen without any judgment. No right or wrong, or good or bad sounds. Just sounds. And now I'm going to count backwards, becoming quieter. See if you can follow my voice into the silence. 5, 4, 3, 2. Can you become more aware of the silence than the sounds? Silence is always behind the sounds. Sounds are contained in the silence. Ask yourself, are they my sounds or just sounds? Now open your eyes. Just look around the room, at the computer, anywhere, just at objects. Once again, there's no right or wrong objects, no good or bad objects. Even if you see a mess on the floor, it's just an object. Ask yourself, are they my objects or just objects? This is more difficult, but can you become aware of the space the objects are contained in? Can the space stand out more than the objects? Then relax and close your eyes again. This time, watch the thoughts that come by and watch for the gaps between the thoughts. Once again, there's no right or wrong or good or bad thoughts. Try to watch everything without judgment. This is what the Course means by forgiveness. Forgiveness is still and quietly does nothing. It merely looks and waits and judges not. Ask yourself, are they my thoughts or just thoughts? See if you can become more aware of the space between thoughts, the gaps. See if you can focus on that space between thoughts. There's also silence between thoughts. Even without thoughts, there's an awareness there. An awareness there's a thought or there's not a thought. See if you can relax more into that awareness, even though the thoughts still go on. Say to yourself, I have thoughts, but they're not my thoughts. Now we create a thought, one that's perhaps difficult. Just think of someone where you lose your peace, where you get upset. Those thoughts of anger or shame or guilt just come in for a moment as you look at that person. In comes the thought. Again, try and just observe this thought. You might be watching a feeling, or you might be watching a judgment. Can you see it as just a thought? Now leave that thought and listen to any sound around you. There's no sound, you can listen to my voice. Just leave the thought behind, and your awareness, like a light beam, focuses on a sound now. Say to yourself, I have thoughts, but I'm not my thoughts. Lastly, ask yourself the question, who am I? When you feel complete, just bring yourself back to the room, and in a moment, we'll pair up in the breakout rooms. Still in a meditation, you can stay in that, and you can join the breakout room in a meditation. Okay, people are coming back now from the breakout rooms. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One more to come back. There's I'll give me a few more seconds. Paola's camera's there, but we've let me just check. Looks like Kevin's dropped out again. He's got tech problems. Paola's dropped out of her room. She hasn't got tech problems. Okay. Anyone want to share anything from that exercise with this ever diminishing group? And you're all muted, of course.
Well, I was saying to Ingrid that I thought I'd have a little experiment because, I say lots of times on here, I don't have thoughts. And I thought, well, maybe that's not true. So I thought, well, I'll really look out for thoughts. Um, and there are not any thoughts until I actually answer you. So you might say, and they're not actually even thoughts, it's actually me saying to you, oh, okay, I'll do that. So you say something like, I'm not my thoughts. I have thoughts, but I'm not my thoughts. And I go, oh, okay. So that's happening. And I think, well, if when you stop talking, I don't have any thoughts. And it's not really thoughts as more, I'm just answering you as though you're in the room and I'm just having a conversation with you. You said, I can't remember what you said. And I said, oh, well, I could do that. So,
I love it. I love it. That's,
so anyway, it does seem like I haven't, but maybe I would have. I don't know. It just seems like there aren't any, and it's a very peaceful place to be, not having any thoughts, I have to tell you.
sounds wonderful. No, you are without thoughts, and you hear me speak, and you might reply to that, but you've got a choice, haven't you? You could just totally ignore me in that, and there'd be no thoughts at all. There'd just be sounds, pictures. Yeah, that's great. Can you teach us how you do that, Joe?
Well, I don't know.
I knew you'd say that.
I don't know.
When did that start in your life, Jill? When you
Yeah, it'd have to be 30 years ago when I started meditating. And I used to get lots of pictures and I used to get lots of music, and it was always Strauss waltzes. You know who
yeah,
I mean? Strauss waltzes, yeah. And that's what I used to hear. And people in a masked ball. You remember in the olden days, they had
yeah.
balls and you put masks on. There was always that. And gradually it just got more and more silent. And I used to just have pictures. And so because I had pictures, you tend not to speak or you tend not to think because you're just looking at a movie. So well, I did anyway. I tended not to have any questions or thoughts because I was so interested in that. And then it just developed from there. So yeah, I do remember it's sort of gradually become that there's no thoughts and no pictures really, actually, now.
And in everyday life, if somebody sort of upsets you or stands on your dog or kicks your dog, um, is it just feelings and emotions, or is it with thoughts as well?
Yeah, I don't really have many thoughts actually. And that's part of the problem. And I don't have even many words. I don't say very much. I know it's all hard to believe on here, but I actually don't speak very much, you know? And 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 so I don't have many thoughts in general, to be honest.
Wonderful. But if you take my example, somebody comes over and says, "What a rock,"
Oh yes.
and kicks
Mm.
it. You'll react. Will there be thoughts in that, or just emotions? What goes on then?
I think it'd be just an emotion.
Just emotion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Does
Fascinating.
that mean there's something wrong mentally
It means
with me?
I'm envious and I like to be like you.
So how do you mean? What would the reaction be? What do you mean with thoughts? How do you mean?
It could be like, well, you shouldn't do that. That's a bad thing to do, you know. How dare
Oh,
you treat an animal like that, you know?
oh.
That's not there.
Yeah, no, no, that wouldn't be there. But that doesn't mean I wouldn't be infused with rage,
Yeah.
but there wouldn't necessarily be any thought attached to it.
Great. I love it. Well, if you ever work out how to teach this to people, you know, you can have a whole session on my network.
Yeah.
Thanks, Joe. That's great. Interesting, isn't it? Um, Anyone else have a share from that exercise?
Just on that, when you're saying about thinking of the thoughts, the more I'm asked to just let the thoughts be there and to observe them, the more there aren't any there to be had.
Goodness,
It's
it's
a really good way of actually letting them go by actually letting them be there.
yeah, yeah. This is going to become the no thought group eventually.
We'll all
Just
just sit
look at
here.
each other, show pictures of our dogs or something. I love it. So this is what the 5D will be, eh? Welcome to 5D, everyone. Mm. Oh, one thing I wanted to ask is that we did that lovely meditation of yours again, Jill. Is that open for anyone to use with any group who want to continue with that sort of work? Do they have to ask your permission?
Well, I don't know actually. That it was, I know that originally, because I'd been kind of nudged about it weeks before I sat down and did that it was for our group, but I don't know. I imagine it's for everyone. I mean, why wouldn't it be?
No, why wouldn't it be? Um,
Yeah.
shall we just assume that, or shall we wait till you get some?
No, I think
No, you don't.
no. Um, I think we could just presume that it's to be shared, yeah,
So the
or
more the merrier.
anywhere. Mm.
Yeah, because only the right sort of people would take that on, you know.
Exactly, yeah.
Um, they may not realize initially that they can get a lot from it. But this would be somebody who wants to serve, yeah. Okay, that's good.
Mm.
And, you know, I've recorded it this time here. And so that's available. Great. Anyone else before we finish?
I've got a question. Thank you for that, everybody, and the great meditation, Jill. Didn't know you channeled Jesus. That's interesting.
Neither did I,
Uh,
Kevin. So,
Wow, awesome. Wow. Yeah, I'll say my question quick before I forget. So the thoughts thing and the emotion thing, as I was trying to think of somebody, I love my daughter more than words, but we tend to niddle at one another a bit and fall out a little bit. She's only 12. And I try not to bite, not to bite. Then eventually I do, and we fall out, right? Uh, so can't that, and that's an emotion thing. Normally it's from a fear thing because I wanted it to be great in society and not a little diva, right? So, right, am I supposed to change the emotion into a thought, well, not a judgmental thought, or what's the sort of format of what's the norm? What
Yeah.
do you recommend, Michael?
The course's teaching is that emotions come from our thoughts. And so one needs to go back to the mind for the healing and to think about it differently. So the Holy Spirit's judgment is always one of two things, isn't it? It either sees people asking for love, like when you're in an argument with your daughter, or giving love, which is very rare. So we're asked to go back to the cause, which is the mind. And if you change the mind, then the emotion then changes. It might move from anger to compassion.
Right, I get that. So that's a bit like listening to the JM stuff. He'll say, in the way of the art, look at the reason behind why this person's cut you up and why they're being nasty to you. What's going on in their day? You don't really know. Don't judge. Right. So
That's right.
the root cause from their end. Yeah.
There's an early lesson in the workbook that says, I'm never upset for the reason I think. So you're upset with your daughter for what you think is justifiable. Maybe she just smashed the window. But no matter what it is, you're not upset for that reason. So you could turn it into a prayer I was given this once from my psychic wife. It was something like, tell Michael when he's upset, this is not as I think it is. Please show me how it really is.
Oh, I like that.
So that's like trying to remember to hand it over at that point. Because what's implied in that is that I'm making myself upset. It wasn't my daughter. She doesn't have the power to upset me. She has the power to hurt my body. So when you say that, you're at the first stage of forgiveness, like, oh, I'm creating this. And the second stage of forgiveness is, am I ready to let it go? You can only do that by thinking different. And then the third stage is now it's automatic, it's lifted from you.
That's interesting. Thank you. So regarding the dog scenario that you mentioned earlier, if somebody came up and kicked your dog, I can understand the rage and the emotion, right? But and you said the thought thing. Well, why did you do that, and etc. What's the recommended way of handling that then? What's behind the reason that you came to kick my dog? And
Well, it could get a bit too mental. It could get a bit too mental because sometimes we don't actually know the reason. But it's the same approach for everyone, whether you're arguing with your dog or somebody kicks the dog. This rage or whatever it is, or sadness comes up in you. And then, well, I'm not upset in this case, I'm not upset for that reason. There's something else, and you're giving a gap for spirit to come in, to move from the head to the heart. If you can get to the heart, then you're going to get a win-win solution for you and the person kicking the dog. But if you go to the head, and you could get caught in, why did you do that? Well, everything's happening too quick. Actually, to get a reason. Perhaps his wife shouted at him this morning, now he's taking it out on the dog.
Yeah.
I had something, Jill.
I was going to say, oh, sorry.
No,
Ingrid,
go ahead.
Ingrid, you go. Go, sweetie.
Okay. Tomorrow at 11 o'clock, I have a meeting with the school, and I will meet up with my son and his father, and we will meet the teacher because the teacher has. This is the second time we will meet up with the school, and oh, I've been so activated, and it was incredible. With the lesson 66 and 67 in the workbook, I think it is resentment dims the light in you. So I think the word is resentment in English. I don't know. In Norwegian, it's another word. But when you feel resentful towards someone, and you put that thoughts and you get activated, then you create lots of blur here, and your inner light that you're supposed to share with the world and your brothers and sisters gets dimmed down. That's how I understand the lessons.
Yeah, sounds right.
Yeah, and then I'm thinking that I'm trying to figure out the way for me to be in the meeting and be in a love felt place. And then I'm thinking, still, if I am in a love felt place, I'm looking at the person in front of me. I see her meat suit. In the middle, it's a light that's eternal, and it's part of mine. She is my sister. And then there are lots of blur on the outside. It's my choice to connect with her light or not. I can connect with her light, and I can still set some boundaries, and I can still say that this is how I not perceive a wise thing. I can still maintain some boundaries, like Jesus said also in one of the lessons, I think it's 66 or 65, that even though you're a spiritual person, doesn't mean that you cannot put up some good, in a way, boundaries for yourself. You're not supposed to be a doormat that people can just go and walk on top of every time. Right. So I feel that it's an exercise in keeping, in a way, two thoughts at the same time. Feel a heart connection and still say, this is how it has to be for me. Is that about right?
Sounds good. I think what I would connect it with is something I heard once. You've got to go to see your boss, perhaps for a raise. You've got to go to the school to sort it out. and you fit it into two different boxes, two different classes. Number one is the meeting with the other person is dedicated to peace. That is the top priority for your meeting. The second and lower priority is I want to resolve this conflict with my child, you know. But you walk into the room and it's dedicated to peace. Top priority. Second priority, let's get to work this thing out, get my money, blah, blah, blah. That I think can be quite helpful. And you were sort of implying that, you know, with that heart connection is dedicating it to peace. But that's another way of phrasing.
I'm standing in so many different stuff like this. Also on Monday, I have a meeting with some handyman who did some stuff wrong in the house years ago. And oh, it's so interesting. This now comes up with for me, it has to do, I don't know, I was thinking it has to do a lot with some boundaries too. I don't know, sometimes I feel like if I am just in a heartfelt place and don't set the issue straight in a way, then people can do whatever they want in the 3D world. And we still live in a 3D world. Or at least I am. I don't know. Or am I don't know. I love the way you said that peace is the number one thought and meeting, because I've been up and down here, you know?
Yeah. You can almost thought that as you walk into the room, you're walking into like almost like a peace conference with all these enemies around, you know. But you're there to get the peace, number one. And then secondly, you're there to get what you want. A raise, look after my child, whatever it is, not having the vaccination, whatever it is, you know. And you keep coming back to number one priority, which is your heart center. And that's just what happens, I think, is you stand a much better chance of getting what you want, because they feel the vibration in you that, oh, you've come for peace.
Mm-hmm.
Jill, you
yeah,
want to... Oh, thanks, Ingrid.
No, it's interesting because you say you come for peace, because I was talking with my mom yesterday and then we got a bit worked up over the issue. And she's been living in this little village before I have. And I said, I'm so fed up. I don't know if I want to stay here. I feel that it's such a gossipy, small little shit place, you know? And they're also beautiful nature and beautiful other stuff and beautiful people too. So I was thinking, like, I don't know if I want to stay here. And then my mom said, you know, I had the exact feeling when I lived there. She came from outside into the place, never fitted in. And then we worked each other up and I could feel it. And then I can feel like, okay, now I have a choice not to engage more on that level. And the ego loves to, and you can add stuff and you can make a huge cake and eat it. You know, so it's so tempting. And I was like, I could feel myself going into the kitchen with the ingredients and starting to make it.
Yeah, easily done. Easily.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Okay. Jill, did you want to add something?
It was just something that not Michael, Kevin said, and I got this thing, don't know what else to call it really, and it was to say that, we seem to have analogies of dogs lately, but it was, you know, when you're playing tug of war with a dog, and neither of you are going to let go, and the dog's pulling and you're pulling, and you might be having fun. This is just an analogy. I don't know where it came from. But what I got was, you know, what happens when you drop your piece of the rope and the dog goes off with it. And then eventually the dog actually drops it then, because it's not, well, it's not getting what it wants. And that was how it felt between you and your daughter, that you're both holding on for grim death at this, you know, whatever it may be. And one of, you know, and really actually it was you. And I don't know what any of this means, Kevin, so take it with a pinch of salt, because I have no idea what this means. Is that you maybe need to drop it, i.e. let go of the rope, and then she will just go, oh, this isn't fun, and drop it herself.
Mm.
Might be a control thing I've got going on. That,
Oh,
you know.
yeah, that would work.
No, you know, it might be that I'm trying to force my will and control it because I mold her into the way that I think she should be, and that's probably not the correct thing to do. But you got to give kids the guiding hand, haven't you? But without being too, you know, controlling.
Could always ask the Holy Spirit to control it instead, or guide it instead.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Thanks for your
Thank
story.
you, by the way.
Oh, just
Kevin posted a nice little story.
while I'm standing out, I just got to show you
Oh,
our cool little toy.
got a toy coming up.
Ooh, a toy.
Oh,
Right.
what are we looking at?
Hey,
Are we looking
that's
at
all right.
something?
Oh yeah, I was just showing you the car.
Oh, my.
Oh,
Ooh.
It's a bit dark.
Oh.
There you go.
very nice.
You're posh.
Yes.
All happening tonight. Stories, smiles, sharing. Smiles.
Ah, dear. I was just stood outside. I don't know. For some reason, I felt like, oh, and a dog.
And the dog. Why not?
But can I ask, like Judith, when you say when you're in the situation with your 12-year-old or daughter or your 11-year-old son or whoever, and then you feel like Jill, you're on each side and you're pulling, you're both invested into something, you know, that's why you're pulling, and the ego loves it too. I guess. And then, because I've been asking now the Holy Spirit to guide me, and how do you calm your mind and you listen for guidance in that specific situation when you ask for guidance from the Spirit?
Yeah, at the time it's difficult because it's chaos, isn't it? You're in the
chaos, yeah.
Because you're in the chaos and then it's hard to do it.
Sometimes it's not solved at that moment, is it? Because the chaos is so high, the anger is so high. It can be solved, you know, when you walk away and you reflect and you hand over the pain, and then you go through like a forgiveness. And then in that space, you might go back to the person and say, you know, I wasn't handling my part of it very well. You know, that can be amazing.
I do. That's what I do.
Yeah, you go back afterwards.
Yeah. And also just going, where is that in me? Whatever it is that you're judging should be different. Is there a part of you that's wanting to be accepted? You know, sometimes it can take care of itself just by dealing with what's within you.
I've missed that one. Yeah, and I hear it a lot, but I've not applied that one to myself. So good one. I like that. Where in you?
Another one shot up for me was when I joined the Findhorn community as a guest. It was a long 3-month program, and there were some issues, and I made a friend with one of the women there on the group. And I was debating and talking with her, and she suddenly stopped and looked at me, and she said something which caused shock in me, which therefore it must have been true. She just looked at me and said, "You have a lot invested, Michael, in being right." Such a lesson. Well,
that wouldn't be Kevin and Ingrid, surely.
No, I just thought I'd toss that in, Kevin. You probably regret ever asking this question now, but there you go.
Right. I'll go away and think about that. Why is that?
I go
That
and
might
think
have
about that
triggered
one
me. I'm
now.
not sure.
So much to think about, yeah. Okay, guys, it's oh, look at it, 7:17. We're really enjoying ourselves here. You should perhaps copy the little chat from Kevin. He put a nice story on there. Anyway, that's it for tonight. I think I'm supposed to be getting early night and not looking at computers. It's all your fault, you realize. Okay, that's a smaller group, but it's been great. Nice dialogues, all recorded. So anyway, have a great day, everyone. I'll go off and shut my computer down. I'll send this out tomorrow, this video. I'm going to do it now, but I'm going to be good. I'm going to spend some time with Jesus instead. Right. That's me.
Bless you.
Okay.
Bless you. Thank you very much. Great speaking to you.
Bye.
Thank you.
All the best, guys. Great being
Bye.
with you.
Lots of love.
See you.
Bye.